Hello. Thanks for tuning in today to Stronger Bones Lifestyle Podcast. I want to do a solo episode because there's a topic that has been coming up recently in the sessions I've been having with women. And as I interpret more stool labs, I keep seeing over and over and over in women with osteoporosis issues with digestion. So I have a question for you. Are you actually digesting what you eat? Because there is no guarantee that what we put in our mouth actually gets digested and broken down in the right form or in the depth that it needs to be digested in order for to be utilized by your body. So nutrient absorption from food might not even be happening in your body. You may only be digesting a small amount of the food that you eat or not the whole amount of food that you eat. And the term osteopenia actually means bone poverty. And it really is poverty of the nutrients that we need to keep the tissue strong and dense in the way that we need for it to be fracture-proof or fracture-resistant. So I want you to ask yourself this question. Am I actually digesting the food that I eat? Here are some of the things to take note, is that everything that goes into your mouth needs to be broken down, right? There's a process. We eat, so we have digestion, and digestion breaks the food that we eat or the supplements that we eat into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until it's all the way down the smallest form. And then it goes into your body system, so it crosses your mucosal barrier to become what we need it to become or support what we need to support. And even in the gut itself, we need the food broken down so it supports the gut itself, builds the wall of your gut lining, feeds the beneficial bone-building bacteria in your stomach, and other facets of what is important when it comes to our gut. So the journey from mouth to bones is what I'd like us to focus on. If you have osteoporosis or osteopenia and you want to do all that you can naturally, one of the big things you have to do is feed your bones the foods and the vitamins and minerals that they need. And you have to make sure that that digestion happens. And it was just this weekend that I was going over a stool lab with a woman that I started working with, and it was her first session, and I got her stool lab back. And I love when I get a stool lab result like I got from her. I love it because I know there's so much I can do for her and with her. I don't love that it shows what it shows me. So I run a stool lab that actually, here's some of the things that the stool lab looks for. It looks for elastase, which is a pancreatic enzyme. And it's an enzyme that gets secreted by your pancreas that helps the process of digestion. There's also a marker for fat, steatocrit, and it looks for the percentage of your stool that's made out of fat. And it shouldn't be any because you should be absorbing all the fats, especially the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, and especially vitamin D and vitamin K when it comes to bone health. So I shouldn't see that in the stool lab. Then there's other markers for local gut immune function because that's where most of our gut is, or most of our immune system is in our gut. So I want to see that there's a nice robust immune reactivity because the marker that we're looking for in the gut is called secretory IgA, and that actually binds with things that we either, it binds with them right away and it manages them so they don't become problematic in your body. They don't trigger inflammation or some of the factors inside that can lead to disease or especially to bone loss. So the secretory IgA, first line of defense in the gut, we want to see that's nice and robust. And there's other markers. There's an enzyme that breaks down carbohydrates that if that marker is off, then you potentially have some issues with toxicity, or it's a retoxification marker. It is unbinding things that were bound by your liver. So our body does a great job at detoxifying when it's healthy. It binds things and then we pee, poop, sweat, or breathe them out of our body. So if something comes in that doesn't serve us, our body has a great way of managing it, unless we have issues with those systems. So in this stool lab, I find all of these markers. What I find, though, so often in women with osteoporosis or osteopenia is poor digestive capacity. I see it happen over and over. I see low gut immune function, poor digestive capacity, and low beneficial bacteria that helps to support your mucosal barrier, which is your protection between your outside world and your inside world. And so I want to ask you that question, are you digesting? So let's talk about the process of digestion. I'd like to walk you through the journey of the food as it comes in our body and what it needs to go through. First of all, what you're choosing to eat is really important. So we want to make sure that we're choosing foods that are going to actually be health supporting and not destroy our health. So even who are we when we're making that choice? What state are we in when we're making that choice? Are we regulating our blood sugar? Are we stressed out? Are we balancing ourselves in the way we need to be balanced in order for our bodies to get the food they need? And we are human. So we learn what we learn about what we should and shouldn't do or shouldn't eat, and then life happens. You might be in a particularly stressful time of your life. I have that. I definitely have had a lot of stress in my life recently and not made the best choices, a little bit more maybe whiskey than I should have been having. And if you've listened to me lately, you'll hear me say that. So you must know that, yeah, that's definitely happening. And the point is that we're not all perfect. We shouldn't be all perfect all the time. We can't be perfect all the time. But understanding that the stress plays a role. So in that moment when you're going to make that choice, stop and ask yourself, who is making this choice? Or just even pause when you're making the choice to make sure it's a good choice. One of the best things you could do for your gut and for your bones is to eat as much fiber as possible. And that is in the plant world. That's in fruits and vegetables. So making a choice to bring in more fruits and vegetables, that choice in and of itself to try to get 30 grams of fiber a day is such a beneficial choice to make when it comes to gut health and it comes to bone health. Then when you make that choice to eat, you want to be in a state to digest. That's probably one of the most important things. The signaling that goes up and down from the brain to the gut, there are so many pathways of stimulation that goes up to the brain. And the vagus nerve, which is a nerve that turns on the digestion mode, that communicates directly with the brain. And it's almost like it's asking the brain, is it safe to eat? Is it safe to eat? Is it safe to eat? And you could be eating the most amazing thing possible. And if the signal is going to the brain, no, it's not safe. If you're watching news, if you're standing when you're eating and your psoas is lengthened, the muscles inside your body, which tells the body that you're not in a position where it's safe enough to eat. So is it safe to eat? Your mind and body need to feel that and know that, because the stomach lining is innervated with the nervous system, and that communication of vagus nerve back up to brain, is it safe to eat, is happening all the time. If you're watching news, having conversations that are unpleasant, if you're participating in something stressful when you're eating, you're not going to be digesting. So that is one thing to pay attention to. Am I making the right choice or good choices? Am I in a stressed state? Is this the right time for me to be eating? You know, they always say, like, don't be hangry when you're eating. So don't be angry when you're eating. And don't go to the store when you're starving because you'll make poor choices. Because it is really important. There's a brain component to digestion. So understanding that. So is it safe to eat? Am I sitting down? Am I taking my time to eat? You want to chew your food because that's where digestion begins, is in our mouth. And then we want to have a healthy stomach with really appropriate stomach digestive juices. And as we age, we lose hydrochloric acid. If you have issues with sodium levels, I see that when I run hair mineral labs, then you're not going to have the appropriate amount of hydrochloric acid, which breaks down the food. And if you have bacterial overgrowth in your stomach, H. pylori being one of those, then that's going to interfere. And then you need the food to come out of the stomach into the small intestines in the right form, broken down enough so that it stimulates more digestive activity, digestion of your fat, digestion of your food. So in that state of digestion in your stomach, you need to optimize that, the right the right stomach acid. You don't want to drink liquids, so you don't want to dilute the stomach juices. You want to be seated and relaxed and calm and have your stomach be in a digestive state. That's going to go into your small intestines, and that's where 80 to 90% of the absorption into your body takes place. That's where the enzymes get secreted, and that's where fat gets broken down so that we can bring that into our body. Fat is what's going to make hormones. Every single cell in your body has a phospholipid layer, a layer of fat. We need to feed that fat to keep our cells healthy. Then the next aspect is that we are 90% bacteria and only 10% human. So we have our microbiome, our bacteria, our bone building bacteria, our gut supportive bacteria, and they need food. So we need to feed them, and we need the food that we're feeding them to be in the form that will feed them. And we also need to make sure we have balance with them, because if we have balanced bacteria, then we feed the good bacteria. It maintains our mucosal barrier. We don't get leaky gut or don't contribute to leaky gut or allow a leaky gut to heal if we have that. And then what little bit about leaky gut, just want to say something there. I interviewed a gastroenterologist, and it was so fascinating. He kept saying this during the interview. It was such a visual. So we have a closed system from our mouth to our anus. If you've listened to any of my other podcasts, I do say this. If you're in my community with me, Stronger Bones Lifestyle, I share this. So I do say this often, and I just learned this in July of 2025. So if it was before that, I might not have been saying this. He kept saying that the gut on one side is poop and on one side is blood, because the only thing between your outside and inside is a single cell and 2 layers of mucus. The gut microbes, the beneficial bacteria that you're feeding, make that mucus layer, those double mucus layer, to keep that barrier intact. Because if things that you're eating get into the system in the wrong size, the immune system gets triggered. We trigger the immune system, and that is inflammation. And inflammation is what causes bone loss. Osteoporosis is a disease. It's a metabolic inflammatory disease. And so when we trigger inflammation, we trigger bone loss. So that single cell, double mucus, blood on one side, which is your inside body, which is where your immune system is, where food goes into the bloodstream, goes to the liver, gets packaged up whatever way it needs to, and then it gets delivered in your body to go where it needs to go. And anything that you no longer need gets eliminated through the stool, through the urine, through breath and sweat. So making sure that you are eliminating is important. And the small intestines is where the enzymes are secreted, where that bile is secreted to break down fats. And then in the large intestines, the water gets reabsorbed and it supports microbial balance. And this is where your food starts to go, which turns into your stool, which eventually will be what you get rid of out of your body. We need the motility in your stool to be functioning. They say that from mouth to anus potentially could be anywhere in the 20 to 30 foot range. And we have the food going through this whole system, that whole big long tube. Well, the muscular action that takes place that moves it through is called peristalsis. And the gut function, the health of our gut, the state of our gut is going to be supporting the movement of the food so you can eliminate what you need to eliminate the next day. And then if this whole chain of action, if there's a missing link somewhere along the line, then your bones will not get the nutrition that they eat, that they need in order to grow, that the food you eat won't get to your bones. From mouth to bones, it is all connected. It's known as the gut-bone axis. So let's talk about what are signs of poor digestion, because you might be sitting here thinking, well, I think I digest well. I think I'm digesting my food. Well, how do I know if I'm not? So here are some of the signs of potential issues. Bloating or gas after meals, feeling full after just a few bites, burping, reflux, heartburn, and then when it comes to bowel movements, constipation or incomplete bowel movements. So the lady I met with this weekend when I looked at her stool lab, she had fat, higher fat content in her stool than she should have. She had poor digestion, low elastase 1, low bacterial species. So her bacteria was not even being fed to be as robust as it needed to be. Her gut immune system was off as well. And she has had constipation her entire life. She uses Miralax daily. She has never had consistent bowel movements. And when I looked at her supplements, I saw holes in the supplement she was taking. I saw she wasn't taking enough of certain nutrients. So we brought in as many natural things that we could in order to support her getting regular. And I cannot wait to check in with her next week to see if she is. The woman I started working with at the beginning of the year that has Parkinson's disease had major gut issues and lots of symptoms and did not have regular bowel movements. It was about 2 weeks when she started having regular bowel movements. 8 months later, still having regular bowel movements. When I can get someone to poop every day, wow, I feel like my job is done. That is one of my most gratifying things I do. And actually one of the quickest things that happens when you start to work on gut healing and use the right protocol, the right supplements, and support your gut in the right way. And so even constipation or incomplete bowel movements. And then on the other side, loose stools or urgency. And then one thing to look at your stool. So it's important that you look at your stool. What color is it? What size is it? What shape is it? Is it formed? Is it floating? Is it sinking? Do you see any undigested food in your stool? If you see undigested food in your stool, that is a big sign that your digestion is off. And that means that all that beautiful food that you ate did not actually get absorbed. The supplements that you take, they don't come out looking like the supplement that went in your mouth. But if you see that you're not digesting food, then you can guess and probably be correct that you're probably not utilizing all the nutrition from the supplements you're taking. If you get tired after you eat, digestion takes about 25% of the blood supply when we're digesting, and it takes a lot of energy to digest. So if you get tired after you eat, it could be a sign that either you don't have the energy for digestion or you don't have the nutrition that comes from the food that we eat to give us that energy. Nutrient deficiencies, despite having a good diet. So if you've had any way of testing your nutrients, one of the best ways is to look at your blood levels of vitamin D3, your ferritin levels, calcium, magnesium, and where do you fall in those ranges? Brittle nails and hair loss and dry skin, those are some of the ones you could really pay attention to. Do you have any skin conditions? If you have skin conditions, there's a direct correlation there with the gut. Do you have hair loss? Another correlation with gut health. Brittle nails. What is the health and quality of your nails? That's a really, really good one, is feel how strong your nails are. And I've had women I've worked with that have had strong nails, yet the stool labs have really low digestive markers. And then if you have ongoing sugar or carb cravings, and I am really honestly amazed at how many women over 50 in menopause with osteoporosis and osteopenia eat sugar. And sugar, not just in the white table sugar form, but sugar in the form of cookies and ice cream and all the other ways that we bring in sugar. So I want you to pause here and I want you to really think about this. Because if that's what you see, then this is your digestive aspect speaking to you and letting you know that, hey, something is going on. I'm not digesting. Get a handle on this now, because if you want to do all you can naturally to take control of your bone health, then you need to be digesting the nutrients that you bring in. It's one of the most important things. We need the building blocks of bone tissue. That's every single thing in your body is made of the foods that you eat. And I want to say a little bit more about bowel movements because it's one of the first areas that I begin. You have to be eliminating properly every day to show that you have a good functioning elimination system, because that is going to potentially be an indicator of some toxicity issues, which that's one of the root causes of bone loss. And it also is an indication of the health of your digestive capacity, and that really matters. So we should have a bowel movement every morning, first thing in the morning without caffeine. It should be formed, easy to pass. There should be no straining. And I would say that constipation is probably one of the top issues that women have. When I am determining do I want to work with this person? When I have my discovery calls, it's let's see if we're a match for each other. Is this someone I'd like to work with for the next 5 or 6 months to help her heal her gut so she digests and absorbs her nutrition to support her bone health? I need to make sure that this is someone that is going to do that. One of the best categories for me when I find out that somebody has issues with constipation, has potentially been taking Miralax or Colace. I had one woman, I want to say she was taking 15 Colace pills. And when I find someone is using a lot of support like that for their bowel movements, that's one of my favorite groups of women to work with, because I know that we are going to turn that around and we're going to get you naturally pooping. There's nothing like being able to go to the bathroom naturally and figuring out what are all the components and the ways to do that. Because if you take things like Miralax and Colace, you're actually managing the symptom and not finding the root cause, which is exactly how we deal with osteoporosis and osteopenia. I just had a discovery call with a woman in her early 60s on getting an injectable medication. And I blew her mind when I talked to her about her DEXA scan could be off because there was discrepancies in her DEXA scan. And there were some other issues that came up, and she actually didn't even understand the medication she was taking. When I explained to her that that medication artificially will build bone for a year, and then you have to take something to stop that bone building because it was artificial. Your body didn't really do it. That medicine did. And then you have to go on something else for a year and you're only 62. What's going to happen 20 years from now? Because you can't stay on that forever. So much to learn, ladies, so much to learn. Thank you for being here and listening to what I say, what the professionals say that I bring on here. And so it's really important that we understand the why, the root causes, and not just try to look at the symptoms and manage them. This morning, the International Osteoporosis Foundation, I was reading something. It talked about managing osteoporosis. You know what that means? That means medications. That means Western medicine doesn't know how to stop it. So we're going to manage it. We're going to manage it with this pill, this injectable, this thing. And that's not the answer. So they quite often, there's so many side effects with medications, and most of them don't actually affect bone metabolism, which is just so crazy. And there's no other tool in the toolbox. So asking yourself that question, are you digesting? Here's another thing. Do you have any psychological or neurological conditions? Do you have anxiety or depression? Because gut health has so much to do with that. And if you're not digesting properly and feeding those beneficial gut microbes, 90% of the serotonin, the happy hormone, is produced in the gut. 2 metabolic processes later, it becomes melatonin to help us with sleep. Hormones and neurotransmitters are created in our gut. So we need the food or the building blocks of them as well. So really important that we understand that this is what happens when you digest well. This is why it's important. We need to be digesting our nutrients to build tissue, and we need to have no symptoms, no gas or bloating or a sore stomach or feeling constipated, and getting that better nutrition to build our bones. So if you are listening to this, especially if you're somebody that has gas, bloating, is on a PPI like omeprazole or on a H2 blocker, or takes Tums, or has digestive issues, or doesn't poop, and is Miralax, Colace. If you're listening to this and you have those issues and you want to get to your root causes, there's 2 ways you could do that with me. The best way is to definitely run a stool lab and find out if that is something that is how we could heal and get you back on track and get you back into balance. Or if that's not available to you, I have a group program, and every month a new cohort starts. And when that cohort starts, you'll be on your track to healing your gut and learning a lot about your gut health. So if you want to run a stool lab, you're going to find out, do you have inflammation? What's going on with your gut immune function? Do you have digestive enzyme issues, fat metabolism issues? Your balance, your bacterial balance between your good bacteria, your bad bacteria, or your opportunistic bacteria? Do you have yeast, parasites, pathogens? And we say in the functional medicine world, it's better to test and not guess. So test and do not guess, because you want to find out if you have issues going on. And you cannot have healthy bones if you do not have a healthy gut. So I hope you learned something here to do a little self-check on your digestion to see if potentially you have issues with digestion. And I would love to help you figure out what is going on if you do have some of these issues. Best thing is to run a stool lab and to work with me privately and get one-on-one support for about 5 or 6 months, improve your digestion, your nutrient absorption, build stronger fracture-resistant bones, have more energy, less inflammation. And if you're not ready for that, then join my Healthy Gut, Healthy Bones and click the link below. It's in the show notes. And there is so much more research being done on this connection. You're going to hear more about it. If you follow me, you're going to hear it all the time because it's my signature program. It's what I learned after running hundreds of labs over the years on hundreds of women, is that the gut is so strongly correlated to bone health. So thanks for listening. Follow my podcast. Share this with someone that needs to hear this. And join one of my programs or join my community so that you can stay in the loop on all that you need and stay current when it comes to taking care of your bones. Thanks a lot for listening, and good luck on building stronger digestion for stronger fracture-resistant bones. Take care. Thanks for joining me on Stronger Bones Lifestyle. Are you ready to take charge of your future? For show notes, resources, and information on my programs, please visit DebiRobinson.com. If today's episode empowered you, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs it. Together, we're building stronger bones and stronger lives. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.